On April 28, 2001, in Hangzhou City, China, a van quietly hid in an alley. The windows were covered with dark tint, making it impossible to see four men inside. The leader of the group was named Liu Huaqiang. At the moment, a red luxury sports car drove into the alley. This scene comes from a Chinese TV series, Conquest, one of the most famous crime dramas in China. Upon its release, it received widespread acclaim and remains popular on the Chinese internet even today. The series is adapted from real events, giving it an authenticity that other dramas can't match. If you want to experience a true cat-and-mouse game between police and criminals, or witness the wild and chaotic China of that era, this is undoubtedly the best TV show to watch. After the shooting, one of Liu Huaqiang's accomplices was overwhelmed with panic, his face pale and his body trembling uncontrollably. Seeing this, Liu Huaqiang took him out of the van. He then hailed a taxi and brought him to an abandoned building.
放心走吧，你爹妈我来养。
At the same time, the other two members, Da Peng and Jin Bao, replaced the van's license plates with new ones to conceal their tracks. Xu Guoqing, the deputy director of the local public security bureau, received a report and hurried to the scene. This occurred during the Provincial People's Congress, and with the crime scene less than a kilometer from the residence of the committee delegates, such a vicious shooting was not merely a public security issue for the area. It was an extremely grave political incident. As a result, Xu Guoqing placed great importance on the case. After assessing the situation, he immediately deployed these forces to establish emergency controls on the city's main traffic routes. Through their investigation, the police learned that the deceased was named Wu Tian, the manager of Tianhong Trading Company, a locally influential figure. Xu Guoqing convened the first case analysis meeting that night. Based on the gathered information, Wu Tian had initially made his fortune through gaming arcades, later contracted the Tianhong Hotel, and also ran a nightclub. Though single, he had relationships with many women. The luxury car he drove was one of the only a few in the city, ruling out the possibility of accidental killing. Moreover, the gunshot wounds were all in fatal locations, and a significant amount of the victim's property was left in the car. Everyone agreed that Wu Tian's case was likely a revenge killing. Xu Guoqing decided to immediately form a special task force under his leadership to investigate the women Wu Tian had been involved with, as well as the business dealings, social background, and the van involved. Xu Guoqing also made a solemn pledge: if the case wasn't solved by July the 1st, he would resign on the spot.
国庆，起义破案时间有点太紧，别把自己弄得没有余地啊。
今天是我上任第几天？
有2个月吧。
2个月零10天。去年1年，1起枪案没有发生。我刚上任就发了1起。 而且发在我刚从北京回来的晚上。市里正在开人大政协会，要是再发1起，就是我自己不提出来辞职，也有人让我辞职。
At this moment, a black car was driving down the road. The driver was a woman named Li Li, the CEO of a local real estate company. While driving, she received a phone call informing her of Wu Tian's death. Upon hearing the news, Li Li was extremely flustered. She even went to the crime scene to take a brief look. After returning home, she immediately burned Wu Tian's business card. Back at the rental apartment, Liu Huaqiang's lover, Li Mei, was waiting for him. At that moment, Li Mei was filled with fear. Liu Huaqiang told her that once the job was done, they would leave Hangzhou. In the middle of the night, Liu Huaqiang arrived at the hospital with a bouquet of flowers. A severely injured and unconscious patient was lying in bed. He placed the flowers by the patient's pillow and then turned and left. The next day, the police began arresting individuals associated with Wu Tian, but the process did not go smoothly. The local police chief's drinking caused a blunder, leading his subordinates to monitor the wrong person. When the suspect was finally apprehended, they discovered he was a timid and cowardly person, lacking the conditions to commit the crime. Other investigative leads also failed to yield more useful information. Also, the police investigation into the license plate revealed that the van's plate had been stolen from elsewhere. The case reached a deadlock for the time being. Meanwhile, Huaqiang received a phone call. His underling, Han Yueping, informed him that he had located the address of a man named Feng Biao, who lived at Unit 2, Building 3, Room 401 in Guanghua Community, along with his lover, Li Dong. It seems that this person was Huaqiang's next target. After the call, Huaqiang decided to take Da Peng and Jin Bao to scout out Guanghua Community. However, Huaqiang noticed that Jin Bao had been extremely uneasy since their accomplice was executed, so he began to have a heart-to-heart talk with Jin Bao.
金宝，你跟陆童不一样，有什么事尽管说，哥全答应。
强哥，真没有。
是不是想走了？
哥，自从我跟你那天开始，我就把你当成我亲哥了。你的事儿就是我的事儿，我不把这事做完，我绝不离开。再说我离开你能去哪儿啊？到哪儿都得被警察抓呀。强哥，我想给家里打个电话，问我爸那手术做了没有。
你爸那儿我给你寄了10万块钱了，做手术足够。
哥，我就这点心事，我们家被我拖累这么多年了，我这命啊，没准哪天就没了。我在死之前要报答他们一下。哥，我想的事你都帮我做了，现在你就让弟弟立马跟人抵命，我一句怨言都没有。
去吧，准备去。
They then went downstairs to catch a taxi to their destination. However, just as they were waiting, a police suddenly ran toward them.
师傅，给我来张球报吧。
哎呀，对不起啊，就最后一份给他了。
哎呦，师傅，我借您球报看看。
看吧。
哎，谢谢您啊。哎呀，我看看这昨子球是赢了还是……嘿，赢了啊！
申花赢了。
是。哎，你也是申花球迷？
啊。
哎呦，我跟您说，昨晚还跟这申花跟他们打赌呢，结果怎么样？赢了吧？
是吗？
哎，这他们叫我了。哎，对了，这报纸您看是？
送给您了，警察辛苦。
哎，谢谢您了，师傅啊！
再见啊！
哎，好嘞。
In the taxi, the driver was very talkative, commenting on recent events and frequently asking about Huaqiang and his group's personal affairs. Seeing this, Huaqiang decisively got out of the taxi midway and hailed another one. On the other side, Li Li bought a cell phone and went to a residential area, following a woman to a hospital, specifically to the same hospital room of the person Huaqiang had previously visited. When the woman saw Li Li, she stepped outside. It turned out she was Liu Huaqiang's ex-wife, Wang Sujuan. The two seemed to know each other. Li Li handed over both the cell phone and 30,000 yuan to Wang Sujuan, saying she was doing this to help Liu Huaqiang. After that, she left. Shortly after, the patient inside suddenly deteriorated and needed a surgery. Huaqiang's ex-wife immediately called Liu Huaqiang, who was surveying the location. From the call, it was revealed that the patient's name was Liu Huawen, Liu Huaqiang's younger brother. Liu Huaqiang returned home, intending to visit his brother, but Li Mei loudly stopped him. She didn't want Huaqiang to get into trouble and urged him to leave Hangzhou, but Huaqiang insisted that he couldn't leave until things were settled. In the end, Huaqiang still took Li Mei and rushed to the hospital. At the hospital, as Huaqiang watched Liu Huawen undergo surgery, his eyes were filled with rage. His ex-wife handed him the items from Li Li. Huaqiang only took the cell phone and gave all the cash to his ex-wife. It was evident that Huaqiang and his ex-wife had a good relationship, and they also had a daughter. From their conversation, it was clear that Huaqiang loved his daughter very much. The daughter also longed to see her father, but the situation was too urgent. However, when he heard that his daughter's birthday was approaching, Huaqiang still promised that he would definitely come that day. He then left with Li Mei and told her the truth.
那是我亲弟弟，让人砍的，挨了8刀。你知道他身上有多少处伤吗？40多处，至少有30多处是被我挨的。
On the other side, the police learned from an interviewee that a car repair shop owner named Zhou Guoquan had a conflict with Wu Tian and had threatened to kill him. Therefore, the police immediately identified Zhou Guoquan as a suspect.
师傅，修车啊？
周贵全在吗？
周全，找他有事啊？
我问你，他在不在？
哦，老周，有人找。里边呢。站住！
During the interrogation, the slick-talking Zhou Guoquan dodged questions and avoided giving direct answers, leaving several police officers unable to get anywhere with him.
我要抽烟。
周贵全，我跟你讲，只要你老老实实说问题，啊，把问题说清楚，抽烟没有问题。
你不抽烟，我怎么说呀？
周贵全，我告诉你啊，你口口声声说你自己没有问题。 没有问题，我们能把你请到这儿来吗？我告诉你啊，你不要让我给你拍桌子。
我又没有犯法，你让我说什么呀？
那你跑什么呀？
锻炼身体啊，增强体力，保卫祖国。
行了，别拼了，锻炼身体。你把问题说清楚，再锻炼你自己的身体去。
这里面不是说理的地儿，好好的一个人，到这里边什么都说不清了。
周国全，你别以为我们不了解你。 我们现在是给你机会，让你自己主动说出来。
我懂法，明天到这个时候，你们就得把我放出去，否则非法拘禁。
In the end, Xu Guoqing had to step in personally. Under his relentless pressure, Zhou Guoquan finally confessed his conflict with Wu Tian. In 1996, when Wu Tian was running an arcade, he got into a dispute with a neighboring arcade owned by one of Liu Huaqiang's underlings. Liu Huaqiang demanded 200,000 yuan from Wu Tian, so Wu Tian turned to Zhou Guoquan to mediate the situation, promising to give him the latest mobile phone as a reward. Zhou Guoquan then approached Huaqiang, who agreed to resolve the matter as a favor to him.
你呢，岁数比我大，我叫你声强哥。以前有什么对不住你的地方呢，你也别往心里去。这呢是7万块钱，密码是今天的月份和日子。 谢谢强哥了啊！
国权出面了，我华强不能太不给面子。
来，周哥，来，谢谢啊！
那就这样，国权，我有事先走一步。
行，那行，那我就不留强哥了。 啊，改天咱们再聊。
太客气了，国权，我先走一步啊。
哎，等一下，我送强。
今儿他妈便宜这小子啊！
不能这么说啊！不管怎么说，咱们也算多交一个朋友啊。
强哥，吴天人也算得上朋友，这他妈兔崽子有钱就是娘。
大海，
不要心疼。
侯卷，
哎，
谢谢了啊。
哪里，我得谢谢你，给足了我周国权面子了。赶上我这喝酒去啊！
一定啊！
哎，
走了。
哎，好嘞，
不早走
哎，好嘞。
哈哈，兄弟，全拿下一扫光！哈哈，嘿嘿嘿。
Later on, Zhou Guoquan wanted to start a car repair shop but was short 20,000 yuan, so he thought of borrowing money from Wu Tian. Zhou Guoquan was a rogue. He didn't really intended to borrow the money from Wu Tian. He was essentially demanding it. At that time, Wu Tian was about to take over Tianhong Hotel. Guoquan figured that since he had helped Wu Tian with such a big favor last time, asking for 20,000 wasn't an unreasonable request. But Wu Tian demanded Zhou Guoquan write an IOU, which infuriated Guoquan.
周哥，这是你要的2万块钱。
哎呦，谢谢兄弟。
哎，等一下，您是不是给我立一字据？俗话说得好，说话为空，落毛为踪。您不给我立一字据，我怎么找您要啊？不好意思啊，周哥，这是我们生意场的规矩，借钱就得写欠条。
吴天儿，我还真把你当成及时雨宋江。
周哥，这是什么意思啊？
事儿过了1个月，你就忘得一干二净了？
什么事儿啊？
要不是我周国权出面，刘华强，你得多给他13万块钱，我向你要2万块钱花花，不多吧？
周哥，我吴天不是印钞票的，更不是开银行的。你说上次那事儿早就已经翻了篇了，你又提起来干嘛呀？再说了，这年月不是谁都愿意把钱往外借的。您要是不愿意呀，对不起，我还正缺钱。
吴天儿，我还真高看了你了。
你把人情看得太低了。
胡大海说你说的一点儿都对。
他说我什么呀？
他说你是钱养的狗崽子。
那他说我说的太好了，我真希望钱是我妈。
吴天儿，我周国权借钱向来不打借条，不过今天我要钱是要定了。
哟，这可是法治社会，你不会乱来吧？
你大爷！
The incident sowed the seeds of enmity between the two. Later, while Zhou Guoquan was at a sauna, Wu Tian had someone to attack him and warned him not to bother Wu Tian again, unwilling to get too deeply involved in the underworld. Zhou Guoquan ultimately resolved the matter by reporting it to the police. From this, Xu Guoqing basically ruled out Zhou Guoquan as a suspect. As the investigation into Wu Tian's relationship deepened, the police finally uncovered 2 more individuals who had past grudges with him. Feng Biao and Liu Huaqiang, coupled with Zhou Guoquan's testimony about Liu Huaqiang's audacity in demanding 200,000 yuan, Xu Guoqing decided to investigate both of them. Digging through old files, the police discovered that Liu Huaqiang and Feng Biao had a conflict before 1995, which was reportedly resolved peacefully. Liu Huaqiang had also fled Hangzhou after an assault case and hadn't returned since. Suspecting there was more to the story, Xu Guoqing interrogated Zhou Guoquan again. This time, Guo Quan revealed crucial information. Feng Biao and Liu Huaqiang had been locked in a bitter feud ever since. Investigating the feud between Liu Huaqiang and Feng Biao thus became the top priority of the case. At this point, we can already glean some insights into the social landscape of that era from the drama. In China at that time, following the planned economy period and the political turmoil of 1989, political and economic reforms had entered a stable phase. Before this, the state-owned economy dominated, with its enterprises serving not only as the pillars of local economies, but also providing stable jobs for millions of workers. However, with the advancement of reform and opening up, market-oriented reform exposed issues such as low efficiency, severe overstaffing, and lack of competitiveness of state-owned enterprises. In addition, many smaller state-owned enterprises were sold off, went bankrupt, or underwent restructuring, leading to massive unemployment across China. The city Hangzhou in the story is fictional, but it is based on the real city Shijiazhuang, the capital of Hebei province. Hebei is one of China's most populous provinces. Before the reforms, its economic development relied heavily on state-owned heavy industries. As a result, Hebei was hit particularly hard during the economic reforms. Moreover, China had a household registration system called Hukou, a system that restricted population migration and still exists today. In simple terms, people from each province have their own passports, and once they leave their home province, they cannot enjoy local public services such as education, healthcare, and housing. Many laid-off workers in Hebei were local urban residents with limited skills, making it difficult for them to find new jobs locally. And if they want to work in economically developed regions, they were unable to enjoy local benefits due to hukou restrictions and could only engage in low-end jobs. Thus, Hebei became China's Rust Belt. At the same time, as the government control over the lower levels of society was suddenly relaxed and foreign culture began to flow in, society became increasingly unstable. Many people turned to crime, and various gangs emerged as a result. As seen in the drama, almost all those involved in organized crime had family members laid off at home. Returning to the character of Liu Huaqiang, just from his initial appearance, we can already see his charisma. As a game boss, he possesses strong psychological resilience and counter-surveillance skills. He is decisive and meticulous in his actions, and he is also very loyal to his brother. However, this trait alone are not enough to make his underlings risk their life for him. General's financial support is absolutely essential. Many may not realize the significance of the 100,000 yuan Liu Huaqiang gave to Jinbao. In the year 2000, China's average annual income was only 12,000 yuan. This sum was equivalent to 8 years' earning of an ordinary person. Just imagine what would happen if Liu Huaqiang constantly accused his underlings of taking advantage of him, threatened to cut off their financial support, or even considered reclaiming the money he had given them. In the next episode, Liu Huaqiang will execute his second assassination plan, while the police simultaneously close in on Feng Biao. How will the first confrontation between the cops and criminals unfold? Why does an innocent CD vendor tragically fall a victim? And what connection does the mysterious Li Li have with Huaqiang? Subscribe this channel. We'll explore this in the next video.